Please enjoy it.
Yo, what is up guys, this is Kelvin, and today I'm bringing you guys my full review of the Huawei P8 Lite. Now the Huawei P8 Lite is the younger brother to Huawei's flagship, the Huawei P8, and it is sort of a mid-range phone. I'd like to give a quick shout out to Huawei for sending this phone out for me to review for you guys. And without further ado, let's get started. So beginning with the design, you might be fooled to think that this phone is made fully out of metal because of the chrome accents around the phone and the brushed aluminum texture on the back, but it's actually fully made out of plastic. Now this isn't necessarily a bad thing, as since it's made out of plastic, the phone is actually super light, and this does theoretically improve the durability over time compared to something with metal, as it would get scratched up more easily. But overall, I am a really huge fan of the design. It kind of reminds me of the iPhone 4S, and I like it a lot. The camera on the back also doesn't stick out, which is also a really nice thing compared to some products that I know of, Apple. But yeah, I am a really huge fan of the design. It looks really nice, and I am quite happy with the design of the phone. On the front of the phone, you do find the 5-inch 720p display, and it does look like the phone has a really thin bezel, but it actually has a black border around the screen, so it's not almost bezel-less phone, but that's okay. Speaking of the display, like I said, it's a 5-inch 720p display. It is IPS LCD, and it does have really accurate colors overall, but then again, the viewing angles are pretty decent. Except with blacks, you do get some discoloration at looking at blacks, but it's okay. And my only huge gripe with the display is the brightness, because it is kind of hard to see outdoors. But overall, I am quite happy with the quality of the display. Taking a tour of the phone, on the bottom of the phone you will find there's this dual speaker grills, but only one of them is the speaker. The other one is a microphone. The speaker on here does get decently loud, but at high volumes it is kind of tingy, so I wouldn't recommend you using the speaker. Just stick to the headphone jack at the top of the phone. There's a 5 megapixel camera on the front of the phone, and on the back there's that 13 megapixel camera covered in glass with an LED flash. Then below it is the brushed aluminum texture that you get with the phone. On the right side of the phone you will find the power button and the volume rockers. The volume rockers are really tactile, and so is the power button, and they are really ergonomically placed, so I do like their position, and it's actually really easy to press them. And right below that you will find the dual SIM card slot. Yes, this phone is a dual SIM phone, and each slot is different because the first slot is a nano SIM and the second slot is a micro SIM. And also one of these slots does also use as a micro SD card slot. Well, unfortunately, if you do choose to use a micro SD card slot, you can only use one SIM with this phone, so keep that in mind, as this phone only comes with 16 gigabytes stock of memory. Now in terms of the cameras on here, I am actually quite impressed with the front facing camera on here. It does have a 5 megapixel front facing camera. It's actually probably one of the best front facing cameras I've used on here. For some reason I'm just in love with this front facing camera. I do like the way it represents colors when taking selfies and all of that stuff, and it does have a beauty mode for those of you who are into that kind of stuff. Moving on to the back camera, there is a 13 megapixel camera. It does take some pretty decent pictures in nice lighting. There is a little bit of bokeh. Moving on to low light photography, pictures that just get noisy, and that's what you would expect from a phone of this price range. The video on here is actually pretty solid too. It does do 1080p at 30 frames per second with no slow motion option, but that's okay. Unfortunately, it doesn't have optical image stabilization, but overall the cameras on here pretty good, especially your front facing camera. If you're into selfies, this is something for you. Now moving on to the performance of the phone, I'm actually really impressed. In here there's the Snapdragon 615 octa-core processor. It's a 64-bit processor with 2 gigabytes of RAM. So going through the OS and playing games and all of that stuff was actually pretty smooth. I'm actually quite impressed with the performance. It handles almost like a flagship, and I am happy that this phone does have 2 gigabytes of RAM. But do keep in mind that when you're playing games, it does tend to be a bit slower than other higher end phones because the GPU in here isn't as strong, so loading times might be a bit longer in games for you, and you might get a few stutters when you're gaming. Now coming down to the software, It does look like it's running Android Lollipop, but it's actually running Android 4.4 KitKat. Unfortunately, I haven't heard of any future updates for this phone, but hopefully there will be a Lollipop update. As you can see, it is running a skinned version of Android. It is what Huawei likes to call the Emotion UI version 3.1. Unfortunately, this UI doesn't have an app drawer, so you're going to have to rely on folders in terms of organizing your apps. But it's not really bad, as this is Android. You can just download and launch it if you do really need an app drawer. But personally, I really do like the look of this UI. It doesn't come with a lot of bloatware, but there is a really stupid app on here called a mirror. If you need a mirror, you could just basically just use the camera and turn on the front facing camera, but it is there, and I do really like the look of this UI. Although the icons may look cartoony, it's still actually pretty pleasing, and a lot of the stock apps on here actually have a really nice design. I really give Huawei props for the way they designed the stock apps on here, and they tried their best to make it the best experience, although the phone doesn't run Android Lollipop, and I'm quite happy with that. Also on the lock screen, you do get some ability for some quick toggles, kind of like on iOS. So this OS just takes cues from lots of other OSs and puts it together, and it does have some pretty useful features. Huawei did a really good job in terms of the software on this phone, and I'm super happy with that. So hopefully this phone does get an update to Lollipop soon. Now I would like to talk about the battery life of this phone. Battery life of this phone is actually pretty okay. I would say it's super average. In here there is a 2200 milliamp per hour battery, and it is able to last you through a day. I think in most of the days what you would get with medium to heavy use. So for a price of $250, I do think it's a really good price for the phone compared to some other mid-range phones. Last question we have is, who would this phone be for? Well, basically this phone is for people who would want a really well-designed mid-range budget phone, or for someone who wants a dual SIM capabilities and doesn't want to spend for a lot of money. If you're looking for a dual SIM capabilities in a phone, probably what you would go with. Or if you're looking for a really nice design in a budget or mid-range phone, this is what you go with. But overall, I'm really quite happy with this phone. I think it's a really good phone. There are lots of features. The software is really great. The camera is actually pretty decent, especially the front-facing camera. And I did enjoy my experience using this phone as my daily driver. So if you do want to purchase this phone, I have links in the description. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. Anyway guys, follow me on my social networks, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.